speak about the case of Raif Bedawi. The name may be familiar to you because he has become a high-profile individual whose case has been highlighted by Amnesty International and other human rights groups. I've probably mentioned this before, but for me it highlights the absolute savageness of theocratic regimes, such as the one in Riyadh. At least that is regimes that purport to be theocratic and certainly use religion. To what extent they are actually religious or not is open to debate. But I want to speak a little bit about this case because this is very important, and I'm going to put a disclaimer in this video because I've spoken before on the subject of human rights in Saudi Arabia concerning a Filipino maid, and when I've spoken about this on previous occasions, Saudi nationals have interpreted the video in a way that they want. A few things I want to say. Firstly, if English isn't your first language, I apologise for that, but I don't speak Arabic, so this video is in English, that's the way it is. Secondly, if your view is that outsiders should stay out of this, that's a view that I'm going to absolutely put to rest in a minute. So I'm going to first of all give you the background of this case if you're not familiar with it. Raif Bedawi is a young man. He's 31 years old, and he's a blogger of a website called Free Saudi Liberals. Now, he has previously been in legal troubles for his activism, and according to the Wikipedia page, he was arrested in 2012 on a charge of insulting Islam through electronic channels and brought to court on several charges, including apostasy. He was convicted of several charges and sentenced to 7 years in prison and 600 lashes in 2013, then resentenced to 1,000 lashes and 10 years in prison, plus a fine in 2014. The lashes were to be carried out over 20 weeks. The first 50 were administered on January the 9th, 2015. The second set has been postponed more than 12 times. The reason for the most recent postponement is unknown, but in previous weeks the lashes have been delayed due to his poor health. It's known that he has hypertension. If you don't know what this is, it's high blood pressure basically. And his health has worsened since the flogging began. His wife, Insaf Haider, has asserted that Raif will not be able to survive it. She's taken real risks herself and giving high-profile interviews on, I believe, on CNN and other networks to try and highlight the case. Amnesty International has been leading the campaign, but I'm sure other human rights groups have taken it on board as well. The reason being that this is a particularly savage case. It's not unique. In a lot of theocratic countries, that is, countries that have religious law in their jurisdiction, we see similar cases. But I think the reason this is getting a lot of attention is because he was a blogger and because of the sort of work that he's doing. Now, firstly, I want to touch on this issue about insulting Islam. I don't know what the details were, but I'm someone who staunchly believes in the right to criticize religion. So whether he was doing that or not is inconsequential to me. From a legal perspective, I understand it impacts the case. But in terms of a moral perspective, no, I couldn't care less. If you are of the view that your religion should be so sensitive that a man should be flogged basically to death, then you need to drag yourself into the modern world. And I put it to you that if that is your position, if you believe that it is morally justified to lash somebody for insulting Islam, then you are absolutely uncivilized as far as I'm concerned. And frankly, I don't really give a damn if it's insulting. People who support this insult all human beings who have a conscience. There was a Saudi national who commented on my video about the Filipino woman, and I mentioned this case. And she, it's actually a woman on this occasion, actually tried to condone what was happening to Raif Bedawi. That sickened me to the core. If you're a Saudi and you think this is justified, shame on you. Understand this and understand it clearly. Civilized human beings look at you and feel sick to the core. Now, Amnesty International is a high-profile organisation, so they have to be responsible, and they're trying to encourage people to petition the Saudi Foreign Ministry not to go ahead with this, and they're using very polite diplomatic language. I was going to go for that, but I decided not to because I couldn't. I didn't want to use the sort of diplomatic language that they were using. I understand why they have to do it, but I feel too outraged to, you know, I could, you know, pass that, paste it, and so on, but I'd rather make this video right now. As much as I respect Amnesty International, I'm not sure what difference that's going to make. I think the real pressure. I honestly don't think the Saudi regime cares what citizens in other countries think, or even Saudi liberal exiles think. I think what they care more about would be political pressure. So I think in some ways it would be more effective for Amnesty International to petition countries that are close to Saudi Arabia, including this one, to put pressure on the regime to really think about this. Uh, the fact of the matter is we do have very close relations with Riyadh. So does Washington. Now, I understand this isn't black and white because Saudi Arabia is a powerful regional country and it leads the military campaign against Islamic State, for example. And it's currently conducting an aerial campaign against Houthi rebels in Yemen. Whatever your views on that, that's a matter of debate. But certainly, strategically speaking, Western countries see Saudi Arabia as an important ally. So, in my opinion, that's what sort of prevents him from being more outspoken on this. I think that's very unfortunate because it basically amounts to Saudi Arabia holding us for ransom. In other words, we will do whatever we want and you can't criticize us because you need us. That's a very, very unfortunate situation. Frankly, I'm sick of Saudi arrogance and I'm sick of this regime. I'm just sick of them. Now, in some of the videos I've made about this, people have said that I'm racist and I'm against all Saudis. Well, if that was the case, why the hell would I be making a video speaking out in defense of a Saudi man? Raif Bedawi is a Saudi citizen. If I'm racist, why on earth would I be defending someone who is a Saudi? That doesn't make any sense. That argument is a cowardly nationalistic argument used to try and give the people who condone this moral credibility. I have news for you. You have no moral credibility. And if any Islamist wants to come on this page and make excuses for it, or if any apologist or any sycophant of the Saudi monarchy wants to come on here and make excuses, prepare to get shot down, metaphorically speaking. You have no argument whatsoever. You can quote as many surahs as you want. All you will do is make yourself look foolish. Now, this video isn't going to change anything specifically. I know the Saudi Foreign Ministry isn't going to watch this, and it's not necessarily going to make much difference. But if it brings a little bit of attention to the issue, on top of the attention that's already out there, that's a good thing. And that would be my intention. But it's not just about Raif Bedawi. As terrible as his case is, there are many other people that find themselves in a similar situation, and not just in Saudi Arabia, in other countries as well, in Pakistan and in other parts of the world. We really, really, really need to get a consensus at the UN on human rights. The Universal Declaration of Human Rights is clearly not respected by all. Western countries are far from perfect in implementing it, incidentally. But at the very least, London and Washington have a responsibility to put far more pressure on Riyadh over this. Because Riyadh's attitude is, oh, this is an internal affair, mind your own business. But we cannot stand by whilst a brave young man is being lashed simply for having an opinion. It doesn't matter if he said that there's too much religious law, or it frankly doesn't matter whatever he said. If he made a joke about Islam, it doesn't matter. I don't know the details of what he said, but nothing justifies the treatment he is getting. This man is not a terrorist. He's not a murderer. He's not a rapist. Even in those situations, I'd still have, there'd still be question marks. But the point is, he's none of those things. He is simply a blogger. All he has done is called for more freedom of expression in Saudi Arabia. That is it. And I always struggle to comprehend how people can have such a primitive thinking that they can in any way think this can be condoned. And it suggests to me that this theocracy, which it is in everything but name, basically brainwashes people and dehumanizes people into not comprehending how terrible this is and how wrong it is in the eyes of most of the world. Although there's a significant chunk of the world that would have similar laws. Saudi Arabia is one of the worst, but it is not unique. Um, so I feel sick to the core. I mean, 50 lashes is bad enough, but 1,000 lashes over a period of time, if he doesn't die from pain, he will die from blood loss. On top of that is the psychological torture of going to jail for 10 years. Presumably he won't be able to provide for his family in that time. So that means his wife, and I don't know if he has children, but his extended family are going to suffer as well. As are others. I wouldn't be surprised if there's now a witch hunt going on against other bloggers who support this site. What angers me most of all about this is that powerful Western countries can do more on this. I really believe that. We can do more without completely cutting off our links to Saudi Arabia. We can do a lot more. Because the Saudis rely on us as well, actually. So if I was David Cameron right now, I would recall the Saudi ambassador. I'm serious. I would recall him and demand no answers as to why this is happening. And I would make them very uncomfortable. And frankly, it makes us look bad by being so slavishly close to this regime. And that's how it comes across. And the thing about Saudi Arabia and a lot of the Gulf states, they can build super tough skyscrapers. They can have excellent healthcare. They can have, gleaming motorways or whatever. But when the same country behaves like this and lashes a young man simply for having an opinion, that shows their true values. And their values belong in the Stone Age. I don't give a damn how politically incorrect this is. And if you're a Saudi and you're offended, I don't care. I don't care. You offend me if you support this. And that isn't just applying to Saudis, that's applying to anybody who makes excuses for it. You offend me with your cold-blooded stupidity. And I've news for you. Raif Bedawi is a much, much, much braver person than you will ever be if you're sitting there condoning this. Now, I understand in a dictatorship like Saudi Arabia, it's difficult to openly speak out about these things. I understand that. But at the very least, you shouldn't be condoning it. At the very least. If you can't help him, okay. But at least don't condone it. So, my closing remarks, shame on the Saudi regime. Utterly shameful. And their negative reputation is entirely deserved. And frankly, world leaders need to get more backbone and speak out on this. Especially certain powerful countries, like the United States and the UK. Because when we give the impression that we are standing by, then we give the impression that we're complicit in it, which isn't entirely true. But that's the impression that people will get. I understand that we can't fly in there and save this man, but at the very least, we should make the Saudi regime understand that the world is watching and the world is outraged by this, at least the developed world. I don't care how many skyscrapers you have, treating a man like this means you're very underdeveloped in terms of humanitarian values. So I'm very angry, and I invite all the hate. Bring it on. Bring it on. You don't scare me. If you're a card and you're going to come on and defend this, please do. Please expose yourselves to the gutless morons that you are. And I hope you're never given permission to enter a Western country, or at least a democracy. I shouldn't say Western in this sense because There's plenty of other countries in other parts of the world too that are sickened by this sort of attitude. Whatever questionable progress Saudi Arabia may make, this is yet another dark cloud over its very negative reputation. So I'm not racist. This is not against Saudi people. It's against the system that is in place, and it is against this mentality that a religion could be so sensitive that it warrants a man being brutalized in this way. That then raises legitimate questions about what sort of religion Islam is. And my question to moderate Muslims is, how do you explain this? That's a sincere question. It's not Islamophobic. It's a sincere question. When you see these sort of laws being enacted in many Muslim majority countries, how do you explain it? It varies. I mean, you don't see this in Indonesia, which has the world's largest Muslim population, but wherever there is a trend for theocracy, then there is a danger of this happening. That is why secularism is absolutely sacrosanct. So, thank you for watching. I hope people watching this would share my disgust and outrage. I've sent a message of solidarity with Raif Bedawi. I hope he gets as many as possible. I'm also thinking about his wife. She's an incredibly brave woman for what she is doing, and I just hope she stays safe as well. But really, really, Western governments need to do a lot more to be putting pressure on Riyadh over this, because it isn't just about one man. Let's not kid ourselves. This has implications for anyone else in Saudi Arabia in a similar situation, and anyone else who supports that website. If in any remote chance Raif Bedawi would see this video, sir, you have my profound respect. You're a very brave man. And whatever they do to you, please don't let them destroy your spirit. There are many people in this world who are thinking about you. And I've got nothing but respect for what you are going through in terms of your courage. And it's tragic that you have to go through this. Well, you don't have to go through this, but if they kill you, know that the world will see you as a brave human rights activist, and the world will see them as a brutal dictatorship.